Hello everyone and welcome to the Understanding Behavior live stream. We've got a lit presentation for you today. We're going to be going over verbal behavior, one of my favorite topics. What's really cool about this presentation is that we go through a little bit of a history lesson of verbal behavior. So a little bit lesser known. It's not necessarily something you're going to get tested on, but if you're a behavior analyst, you should probably know the history behind verbal behavior. And we'll talk a little bit about Skinner. We'll talk a little bit about Dr. Jack Michael and all of that jazz. So thanks for being here. If you got my email, you may have seen also that we are celebrating a cool milestone that we just hit. So we just hit 1,000 people in the B Slayer course that are enrolled. This course has been out like a little over 6 months, and it's crazy just that we've had so many people sign up and succeed and pass their test with the B Slayer course. So to give it back, we're going to be doing a giveaway tonight of the B Slayer course. So if you haven't picked the course up for whatever reason, then you have a chance to win it tonight. Yeah, do we have any B Slayers in the house? Looks like Mariju just picked it up. Just got it yesterday. Love it. Christy's here. Got it. Kayla's got it. Love it. Yeah, the course is so cool. If you're not familiar with it, what it does is it breaks down the entire task list into really short, but like detailed and digestible material in like a digestible format for you to know like exactly, hey, this is what I need to know about this subject to pass. And there's no filler, no bullshit. It's kind of has some overlap with our streams, but they go even into more detail. There's new examples in all of the videos, and it gets right to the point as well. There's not as much like stream banter, if that makes sense. Cool, yeah, we've got a lot of B Slayers in the house here. Rashon's got it. Nice, yeah, Tatiana's on the verbal behavior one right now. Love it. Nice. Yeah, lots of B Slayers here. Thanks so much to literally every single person who has checked out the course and has been using it. Honestly, I'm just a little baffled that like we've been so successful with the course, and not only like my success of getting it to you guys, but also so many student successes. We've had hundreds and hundreds of students pass using the B Slayer course already, and yeah, just so grateful to be able to offer that to you guys and get you passing and get you that upgrade you deserve and get you saving the world with behavior analysis. Like, that's what we're all here for. So we're going to give it back tonight by doing a B Slayer giveaway. If it's like super lit stream, maybe we'll even do 2 giveaways. I don't know why I just said that because now I feel like I'm obligated to. But we'll have some juicy giveaways tonight. If you haven't yet, hit the like button on the video, that thumbs up button, and yeah, so everybody can see this stream and participate in all of the hype. We've already got over 100 people here. Thanks so much for being here, helping me celebrate this little milestone. Also wanted to note that next week I am off on a little vacation, so I'm going to Chile for like 10 days total. It's a paragliding trip, so I'm gonna be flying in the sky all day, every day on that trip. So really excited about that, but we will not have Thursday stream for the next 2 weeks. So it's sad for you guys, but I'm really excited. Yeah, this is the farthest I've ever been away from home, so I'm excited to like really just dial in these paragliding skills. So I'm super excited for that. We'll probably be doing more. We'll probably be doing some cool stuff. Like I think I'm gonna have like some free time, so I'm gonna try to hop on like Instagram Live a few times. So if you're not following us on Instagram, maybe maybe you can check that out and catch me live. I'll also like try to like make some cool videos just for you guys, so you're not like totally Nick deprived. If you haven't noticed, Jenny's been helping out a lot by like putting some of these like short clips from the streams into our Facebook and Instagram as well. Hopefully you guys have been enjoying those. So to get a little bit more Nick exposure, make sure you're following us on Facebook and Instagram so you can catch all of that. We'll probably do some Instagram lives in while I'm off in Chile, so that'll be super fun. And yeah, I'm super excited for that. Yeah, thanks. I'm gonna be safe for sure. Molly and Crystal will still be rocking with their Monday, Wednesday schedule, so you'll still be able to learn from that. And yeah, I'm gonna be gone the next 2 weeks. I'm just on vacation. I'll be in Chile. I'm doing some paragliding, but not gone forever. We'll be back right after those 2 weeks, full force with our schedule and everything. And yeah, whatever will we do? I don't know. Don't miss me too much. Well, again, if you want to follow along, I'll probably do some videos from Chile on Instagram and stuff. So make sure you're following us on those platforms. And yeah, it's going to be super cool. We've got, I think it's Renier Ruiz in chat. Thank you, Nick. I passed my exam thanks to you after failing 3 times, 360, 364, and 367. The behavior beast slayer did it for me. Yes, that's so amazing. What a good jump. Congratulations. That's amazing. That's a huge jump. I'm so glad the beast slayer course is able to do that for you. Yay. And yeah, if you haven't noticed, we are just celebrating. We have 1,000 people now enrolled in the Beast Slayer course. I wish I had the number of how many students have passed with the Beast Slayer course. And you need to get some more data. I'll probably be sending out like a form to collect some more data on Beast Slayer in the near future. And yeah, tonight we're going to be doing at least one Beast Slayer giveaway. I know, I'm super excited about how successful we've been with the course so far. So I also mentioned in my email that there's going to be another big announcement. So I haven't really alluded to that yet, but here we go. We are doing a round 2 of the Beast Slayer Scholarship. So another way that we just love to give back, we do some of these giveaways that are like more random for people that are here live and in chat, but we also want to give it to do some giveaways for people who are maybe just struggling and deserving of really good test content. So we are doing round 2 of our Beast Slayer Scholarship. I'll be posting on the Power Preppers group after this stream, and then we have an email schedule to go out tomorrow morning. If you want to check out what that looks like for the Beast Slayer Scholarship, you can look at that Google form that I just dropped into chat. The Beast Slayer Scholarship, I'll give you a quick little preview. So here's that form that I just sent the link to. You're going to get this in your email if you're signed up to our email list, which you can do right here on understandingbehavior.shop. Or you can... we'll have this posted on our socials too, so look out for it. I also just dropped the link into chat if you want to check that out. So our Beast Slayer Scholarship, this is a way for us to, again, give back to the community and give it to people who are give like some really good desk content materials to people who are deserving, are hardworking, and like are just need to pass this exam and maybe have been struggling to do so in the past. So a couple things that we are doing for this, we'll have one scholarship winner, but we might do a second scholarship, and that is on you guys. So we are keeping this submissions open until the end of day Monday, so this Monday the 27th, and what we're doing is if we sell 10 more Beast Slayer courses before that end of day Monday, we'll do a second scholarship. The scholarship winner is going to win the whole complete beast mode bundle. So this is our biggest bundle. It comes out with everything. Oh, it says it's sold out. Oh, we gotta fix that. It's definitely not sold out. But they're gonna get everything in this bundle, which comes with all 3 of our full-length mock exams, the Behavior Beast Slayer course, our fluency package, and our mini mocks for mastery. So to participate in the scholarship, we are going to you just need to submit a 60 to 90 second video of yourself. We have a couple questions here for you to answer as well, just about like your testing history. And then for this round, we also want to for our scholarship winners, we want to have like a little bit of a documentation of that journey. So we want to see like how things are going every couple weeks, to kind of share your journey and your experience with the Beast Slayer course and all of the UB content. So we offer a couple different ways to do that, but we would love to see some people who are like really enthusiastic about sharing their test prep journey and kind of like the grit that it takes to use these materials and pass this exam. So if you're interested in applying for the scholarship, you have until end of day Monday. We are picking 1, maybe 2 winners for the scholarship, and they're going to win the entire complete beast mode bundle, which has more than enough that you for you to pass this exam. Cool beans. And if you are in a good place financially, I know like times are kind of hard economically for a lot of people right now. If you've been sitting and kind of thinking about the Beast Slayer course, again, if we sell 10 courses before end of day Monday, we're going to add in a second scholarship. So now's a really great time to pick up the course if you have been kind of like on the edge about it. So you can help give back to our community. We can give away that second scholarship. Cool beans. So again, if you want to apply, I'll drop the link in chat once more. Save that link. Don't fill it out now because we're about to get into some nerdy discussion about verbal behavior. And you have until end of day Monday to submit your application. And yeah, we're going to pick 1, maybe 2 winners for our scholarship to get that complete beast mode bundle. Awesome. Yeah, I'm just catching up on chat here. Jamal, I'm so glad you've been enjoying the materials. Taught you even more than BDS. I love to hear that. We have Aaron in chat. Just passed on Tuesday. Yay! Aaron, I know you've been with us for a hot minute. Congratulations. I'm so happy to see you get through it. Yes, 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 yes. For sure. Oh, we have Alina in chat. Yeah, her professor had us take her mocks as a requirement. Yeah, we have a collaboration with Russell Sage University right now, and they're integrating all of our materials into their program. And yeah, I'm glad you've been using those and enjoying them. Yay! Yeah, but we have Vanellope V and chat. Beast Slayer should replace BDS requirements and master's programs. I 100% agree with you. That's the route that we're headed towards. We got our first university collaboration, but we're really eager to get more of those and get people to learn about behavior analysis in a non-aversive way and actually get excited about and learn the material well. I don't know. Just seems kind of simple. But yeah, it's super cool. Cool. All right. Well, we're going to get on with our content today. Those were our 2 great announcements. So again, we're doing our Beast Slayer Scholarship Round 2. And today, to celebrate our 1000 Beast Slayer marker, we're going to be giving away a Beast Slayer course. And we'll probably do that. You know, why don't we do that now? What do you think? Should we do that now? Should we just like rip off the Band-Aid? I mean, you guys are here early. You're here on time for the fun stream. Should we just give away our Beast Slayer course now? Because I said it earlier, we might give away 2, but maybe we should do our first one now. Let's do it. All right, sweet. Let's do it. Let's do it. I'm glad you guys are stoked. This is a huge turnout here too. We have 150 people here. I don't think we've ever had this many people at a stream. So thanks for being here on time. And yeah, usually you'll reap the rewards of that, of getting a chance to win our Beast Slayer course. So yeah, this one is going to be a random drawing. And we're also going to do, we have our Beast Slayer scholarship open until end of day Monday. You can learn more. You can check that out later. We'll send out a bunch of stuff about it, so don't worry about it. All right, so we're going to do this one, a random giveaway here for the Behavior Beast Slayer course. This one is going to be one winner. Let's make our number range 1 to, what is 777? That sounds kind of fun. Okay, here's how it's going to work. So you can put one number into chat. It's going to be a random number anywhere between 1 and 777. Multiple guesses will be disqualified, so do not put in multiple guesses. One winner. If we get a tie, there's going to be a tiebreaker, so don't worry if you accidentally like put the same number as somebody else. And yeah, random drawing. Let's see where we go. Throw those numbers in. Obviously, if you already have the Beast Slayer course, please don't participate. We want to give this to somebody who doesn't have the course, so it's a big win for them. This is a $325 product we're giving away right here, right now, and yeah, it's gonna be lit. Thanks for being here, everybody. I appreciate you. Again, one guess per person. It looks like, ooh, pause it, reinforce. Oh, that's too many guesses. You've been disqualified. We don't do that. Yeah, don't put in multiple guesses. I will find out. You're not going to win. I promise. One guess per person. Multiple guesses are disqualified. And the closest number is going to win. If there's a tie, we'll do a tiebreaker. I'm going to give you guys maybe 20, 30 more seconds here. If you haven't yet, make sure you hit that thumbs up like button on the video. We've got a huge crowd here. Let's see if we can really break a record with our likes tonight. Yeah, one guess per person. All right, I think we're ready to pick this. Woo! Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to make, all right, we got a couple more people here that are guessing. We're going to make, Dianalis, if I'm saying it right. Or no, we'll make Kaylee Mondock our last guess here. That is official. Kaylee Mondock is the last guess. Our number is 416. All right, let's see what we got. Ooh, I'm seeing Jamie's Scipio at 417. Did anybody get 416 on the nose? I mean, Jamie, 417. That's pretty close. Did anybody get this on the nose? Oh, man. Let's see here. I'm still scrolling through. Help me out here, chat. We've got a lot of guesses to go through. I think Jamie might have won it. They were only one away. 4-7. Oh, we had Selena at 415. Oh, wait. Where is that? Tell me, is that like top, bottom, or middle? We had Selena 415. Selena, don't you already have the course? Maybe not. Oh, yeah. Selena 415. Okay, we have a 415 and a 417. Okay, I see it. I see it. Selena, do you have the course yet or no? I thought you had the course. Okay, so we had two 417s? Oh my gosh. This is close here, guys. Okay, we had, was there? Yeah, so sorry, Selena. I said, oh, let's give it to a new person. Okay. Yeah, I thought you already had the course too. Okay. Was there a second 417? So I saw in chat somebody said there's a second 417. I see a 427 and a 317. Is there a second 417? I'm only seeing Jamie. All right. All right, well, it looks like we have our winner here, Jamie Scipia 9665. You are our Beast Slayer winner for tonight. Congratulations. To claim your prize, just send us an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com. Huge congrats to Jamie. Yeah, if you need an extension for the Beast Slayer course, we do offer that for a reduced price at $150. But yeah, this is for just the Beast Slayer course. Yay, congratulations, Jamie. We'll see. We have a record-breaking number of viewers here for this stream already. So if you guys keep this stream pretty lit, which I think you guys might be able to do, we might do a second Beast Slayer giveaway. So hold on tight. Make sure you're still here. If we still have a pretty lit stream, we might do a second one. Yeah, we'll probably do a second giveaway. This is already fun. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks for trusting me with your test prep. All right, now officially we're gonna get into our content. Who's ready for some verbal behavior? Yeah, we can do some mock giveaways today too. We'll mix up we'll just do a lot of giveaways and have a lot of fun tonight. Does that sound good? All right, who's ready for verbal behavior? Let's do it. Let's get a little nerdy. We're talking verbal behavior. Let's go. If you don't know me, my name's Nick Ostash. You're watching Understanding Behavior stream. Let's do it. Here's our agenda today. First, we're going to talk about what is verbal behavior. Then we'll talk about the difference between form and function. We'll talk about the difference between verbal and vocal behavior, very easily mixed up. We'll talk about the difference between audience and speaker roles and why that's important. Then we'll do a little breakdown of each of our verbal operants. We'll talk about formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence. We'll then talk about tricky types of questions, how the BCBA exam might try to trick you on verbal behavior questions, and then we'll do a little quiz where I'll try to trick you on verbal behavior questions. All right, let's do this. So what is verbal behavior? Verbal behavior started off as a textbook by Skinner, was written in 1957. That's like ages ago. It's almost 70 years old now. Oh my gosh. But this is how Skinner defines verbal behavior. So he talks about it as behavior that's reinforced through the mediations of other persons. And this is kind of like the easiest way to kind of understand verbal behavior, is that it's behavior that's reinforced through other people. But he adds this caveat here, and it is important, but not necessary in like your just basic definition. But he talks about that these other persons must be responding in ways which have been conditioned precisely in order to reinforce the behavior of the speaker. So it's behavior that's mediated by other people, but the people that are mediating this behavior have also been conditioned to do so. They're conditioned to provide the reinforcement in specific ways for these different behaviors. So that's how Skinner defines verbal behavior. If you want to stick with an easy definition, this top part is usually more than enough. Just kind of know this part in the background, is that like the people that are reinforcing these responses have been conditioned to do so, which kind of makes sense. Like if you understand like determinism overall, it's like behavior is all conditioned. So let's talk about function versus form of language. So verbal behavior was a really breakthrough text because a lot of the approach to behavior or verbal behavior and language before only focused on the form of the behavior. So the form of the behavior is what the behavior looks like. When we're talking about like vocal communication, you can think about it as like what kind of words are being said. So it like two important things are important when we look at form of behavior. Is we want to look at the type of the verbal utterance. So is this a vocal behavior? Is this a gesture? Is this a written behavior? Is this kind of like hand spelling, or is it sign language? So that's what we mean by like the type of verbal utterance. But also, the form of the behavior also includes what words are actually spoken, what phonemes are being used. It also includes the grammar behind the response. So a lot of people kind of miss this, is that this also goes into the form of the behavior. It's like, what is the content of the response? So it's both like, what is the form of the response, what shape is the verbal behavior taking, but it's also, what is the content, what is this communicating? So both of those parts are included into form. So like I said, when before Skinner's time, or before Skinner wrote verbal behavior, all analysis of language was focused on form of the behavior. It was focused on like what kind of words are actually being said, and like, have you ever like noticed? I mean, we're all adults here. We've probably all experienced at some point that, like, hey, what somebody is saying is not really matching up with like what they mean, and that's where this disconnect between form and function occurs. So, looking at the function of behavior is looking at like the history of context and consequences of our verbal responses. This all comes back to our ABC contingency. So, looking at the antecedents, the context where it occurs, and the consequences. So, what happens as a result of this behavior? And Skinner argued that looking at the function of behavior was incredibly important, because we know like looking at function of behavior in general is incredibly important to understanding why behavior occurs. So the text verbal behavior was the first text to actually shift this linguistic perspective to include both form and function of the behavior. Nobody ever looked at like why, like the consequences of verbal behavior and why it occurs. Another big breakthrough with verbal behavior is that it showed that language is not necessarily innate, but it's learned. And you can also like observe this by just observing people in different cultures. So like even like different English speakers, we know like an American English speaker is way different from a British English speaker. And like they both speak English, but like why are they using different words? And you can also look at it across languages. So we know like an English speaker is going to talk differently than a Japanese speaker. So they use a totally different language, and the language itself is not really innate, but it's learned through context and consequences of behavior. And again, we use these environmental contingencies to explain why these language responses occur and why they're developed. So when the textbook came out in 1957, we're just go way back now, it didn't really get much traction. Like Skinner wrote this book. It was his first work of text that was actually not experimental. So this was basically like he did all of his work in the Skinner in like the Skinner boxes and in the laboratory, and he wanted to kind of like bring that same research and like those ideas in that research and apply it in a more conceptual format for this text, verbal behavior. So when the book came out, Noam Chomsky is, if you're not familiar with him, he's a pretty well-known just public figure and kind of like a general philosopher, I would say. And he was Skinner's biggest critic of the text verbal behavior. And because of Noam Chomsky, he like people like really like this guy, Noam Chomsky. And like and Skinner, if you're familiar with Skinner, like he's not a very intriguing writer. Like he's a brilliant mind, but he doesn't really know how to like engage his audience very well. He doesn't know how to like make the research and like make his findings very exciting. And that was Skinner's biggest flaw, in my opinion, is that he's not a very good disseminator of his ideas, but his ideas themselves are brilliant. So Noam Chomsky, he kind of missed the entire point of verbal behavior. And what he did is he argued that humans have this kind of like language acquisition apparatus inside of us that makes us special. And that's why humans have language and apes don't, for example. And this is just a really bad argument because this language acquisition apparatus is not something that can be found in the brain. It's still not something that like was ever like found. Like and it's just a really bad explanation. We're just like we're using mentalism because we're making something up, like this language acquisition apparatus, to explain why behavior occurs, and completely just ignoring all of the environmental contingencies that surround behavior. So when you like really pick apart this argument, it's a really bad argument. It's not backed by science at all. But the thing is that like humans like to think that we're special. Just kind of just like part of our culture is like, yeah, like being human is really special. And like, of course we've got this special language acquisition apparatus. Like, yeah, that's an easy thing to believe. But again, it's not looking at anything observable. And again, Noam Chomsky kind of just didn't even read verbal behavior. He didn't argue like any of the points that Skinner made within the text. And what it did is it like kind of shut down like the impact that verbal behavior would have as the text. And kind of just a fun fact here, Noam Chomsky was found donating money to Epstein. So if that says anything about like who this guy really is, I'll let you take your own adventure there. But anyway, what I want to get to is that Noam Chomsky, he really like shut down the impact of verbal behavior, and verbal behavior wasn't really popularized as a text until Dr. Jack Michael came around. He was a professor at Western Michigan University, which is where I went to school. They've had a phenomenal behavior analysis program for over 50 years now, I think almost 60 years. And you might be familiar with one of Dr. Jack Michael's students, who was Mark Sundberg. And if you don't know who Mark Sundberg is, it's this guy right here. And he is the writer of the VB map. So what was kind of cool is that verbal behavior didn't actually like lose its grounding. It just had to evolve in new hands. So Dr. Jack Michael picked up verbal behavior, and he was just like, wow, like this text is brilliant. If you've ever read this text, it's a very dense text. It's very hard to understand. But Jack Michael picked this up. He's like, wow, this is brilliant. And what Jack Michael did is that he wanted to find more applied applications to use the analysis of verbal behavior that Skinner came up with. So one of his Jack Michael's students was Mark Sundberg, and Mark Sundberg was one to really kind of like push off the field with that using this VB map assessment, which is the verbal behavior milestones assessment and placement program, which is a very common assessment used in early intervention for individuals with autism today. So there's kind of like a little history lesson for you. I know like this stuff isn't necessarily going to be on the exam, but I think it's kind of important to understand like where everything comes from. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. All right, so that's enough of our history lesson. Let's keep talking about components relevant for verbal behavior. And one distinction that's really important to make is the difference between vocal and verbal behavior. So vocal behavior, the easiest way to understand this is it's behavior that's produced by the vocal cords. Verbal behavior is a little bit more expansive, where we talked about that definition earlier, is that's communication mediated by another individual. So easiest way to separate vocal versus verbal behavior is it produced by vocal cords? Then it's vocal. If it's just any kind of communication, so let's say it's like a hand gesture or it's like a written text, something like that, that would fall under the category of verbal. We can have both a vocal and a verbal behavior. So obviously, like communication that's using vocal cords is going to be both vocal and verbal if it's mediated by another individual. I had a question. Was I at BAM this year? No, I don't live in Michigan anymore, so I don't make it to BAM very often. But I actually did see a video of that trial of Skinner, and it was cool to watch, and especially because like some of my old professors were in there. I think it was Fuqua was in there arguing. There was a couple other. I can't remember exactly, but it was kind of cool. For sure. Okay, so that's the distinction between vocal and verbal. Let's also talk about audience versus speaker roles. So when we're looking at our verbal behavior contingencies, we always want to be like frame it around the person whose behavior is of interest. And most of the time, this is going to be for our speaker. So we're always analyzing an ABC contingency from the speaker's perspective. So note when we're looking at the speaker's behavior, then we're looking at like what kind of things are affecting this behavior, and that's going to be our audience. So when we're looking at the speaker's behavior, that means the verbal behavior of other individuals is going to serve as a stimulus to the speaker. So even though like it's behavior of somebody else, it's not the focus of that contingency. So we look at it more as an antecedent or a consequence of that behavior. So it all depends on perspective. It depends on perspective. So if we're looking at my verbal behavior, then your verbal behavior is going to serve as a stimulus for me. Or if we're looking at your verbal behavior, then my verbal behavior is going to serve as a stimulus to you. So make sure you have your frame oriented around that speaker is kind of like the main thing to focus on here. When we're talking about an audience can either be your current audience, so the people who are directly in front of you, or it could talk about like a broader verbal community. So, for example, like when I'm creating these slides, I'm not thinking about like just the people who are going to be here at tonight's presentation. I'm thinking about kind of in general this broader verbal community of like people studying for the exam. So that's kind of like my targeted audience and who and that kind of shifts like how I engage in these different lessons. So if my audience, for example, were parents of autistic individuals, then I'm going to deliver this content in a way different way. So think about like the broader verbal communities can also kind of have control in different ways. And that relates to kind of like the stimulus control of our verbal behavior. So like I'm going to talk to like the parents in a way different way than I'm going to talk to students that are studying for this exam, because I expect you to kind of have a little bit more experience with verbal behavior in general. Cool. We can also think about verbal behavior in respect to covert verbal behavior, which is kind of just a fancier term to say thinking. And covert verbal behavior or thinking is kind of confusing because you are serving as both the audience and the speaker. And, so you can kind of like analyze that same contingency, but you are both the audience and the speaker. And like, oh, that's kind of a weird way to think about it, but it totally works. And that's how we can conceptualize thinking and thoughts. And even though these are not observable events, we can still take a behavior analytic view by just kind of shifting what this contingency looks like, and that you're both the audience and the speaker. I suffer from that quite often. Yeah, hopefully you do. Hopefully we have people that think here. Thinking is a good thing. And again, this is just kind of a way that we can analyze thinking from a behavior analytic perspective. So we don't disregard thoughts as behavior analysts. We definitely acknowledge that they do occur, and this would be the proper way to analyze them. Cool. You guys still with me? We feeling good? All right, so we kind of got our like this versus that components down for our verbal operants now. Now let's talk about like these contingencies a little bit more particularly. So this term operant often is difficult to understand. Like I remember like even when I like finished my grad program, I'm like, what do they mean by like operant? And really all they're referring to here is an ABC contingency. So that's don't think about it as anything more complex than that. It's just an operant is just ABC contingency. So again, verbal operants are behavioral contingencies that are reinforced by others or mediated by other individuals. And we have a really common consequence for most of our verbal operants. Who knows what this consequence is? Let's see that in chat. What is the most common consequence for our verbal operants? It's a 4-letter acronym, but extra cool points if you can spell that acronym out. So extra cool points if you can spell this acronym out. Let's see who's got it. Nice. A lot of you guys know it, but can you spell it out? Let's see. All right, shout out to Laura, first brave soul to take that on. Nice. Mr. Yadin's got it. Good. Lots of people are knowing this one. Excellent, excellent. Nice, you guys are killing this. So our most common consequence is generalized conditioned social reinforcement, which we can just use the acronym for is GCSR. Essentially what GCSR is, it's looking at like praise, approval, and or coherence of a response. So yeah, a lot of people are like saying like, is this like attention? It's kind of like attention, yes. But I think about it as like either praise, approval, and or coherence. So like I like understand what you're saying. So like, for example, let's say I show you this water bottle and I'm like, hey, check out my pet lion. And like technically like that's a tact, like I'm labeling this stimulus, but you'd be like, that's not a lion, Nick. this is not a pet lion. And then if I were to say like, hey, like check out my water bottle, and you'd be like, okay, cool. Well, yeah, this is a water bottle. So that's what we mean by GCSR. Is like when I like label this correctly, I'm getting that approval and coherence of like, yeah, like the community understands that. But if I were to label this incorrectly, then I'm not really gonna get like that approval. I'd be like, that's not a lion, Nick. That's what we mean by this GCSR. It doesn't necessarily have to be praise, like the good job. Like don't think of it as like good job. Think about it as just like understanding or like this kind of approval. Where if I were to like engage in a verbal behavior that's like not great in that environment, so like calling this a lion, then it's probably not going to receive that approval or coherence. So that's what we mean by GCSR. It's looking at this praise, approval, and or coherence of that operant. Yeah, acknowledgement, totally cool. The only exception to this is the mand. So the mand has a more particular consequence where we'll actually get to that in a sec, where we'll talk about all of our different operants. Okay, so usually when we're looking at behavior, we're really focused on that consequence. Like, what is that reinforcer for the behavior? But we know that for most of our verbal operants is that they have the same kind of general reinforcer. It's this GCSR. So to differentiate between our verbal operants, what we actually need to focus on is more about the relationship between the antecedent and the form of the behavior. So again, the consequences are mostly the same for our verbal operants. So what we really want to focus on is that A and B part. Is like, what does that antecedent look like, and what does like the form of the behavior actually look like? All right, that's enough of me rambling for now. Let's get into our operants. So we're going to talk about all of our different elementary verbal operants, and we'll start with our mand. So what I want you to do is I want you to identify the antecedent, behavior, and consequence of a mand. Let's see those in chat. What you got? So let's label all of our ABCs. If you can put your answer all in one chat, that's going to make it easiest for me to look at and provide some feedback. But yeah, we'll start with our mand. What you got for our ABCs? All right. And if you're new here, I know we have a lot of people here for this stream, so probably a lot of new faces here. The way to get the most out of these streams is to be very active and actively engage with the materials. So even if other people have the correct answer down, make sure you're still providing your answer, and when necessary or when it feels right, provide your rationale for the answer, and that's going to help you get the most out of this session and really learn what's going on. Practice makes permanent, and more reps is always better. All right, looking good. Actually, I shouldn't say that, but more reps of actually practicing and engaging is going to help you learn better, for sure. All right, I like where we're going. Yeah, Laura, that looks good. Yeah, Lizette, I like where you're going with that one. Sunset Catcher, that looks great. Good. Yeah, Marichu, I like where you're going. Awesome. Yeah, these are looking great, crew. Nice job. So let's break this one down. Our antecedent for a man is going to be an establishing operation. So this is going to make something either more reinforcing, or it can make something more aversive as well. So don't forget, we can also have mans for negative reinforcement. So if we're experiencing something like really aversive, then we could request for that thing to go away. The behavior we're looking for is a request for a specific reinforcer, and the consequence is going to be receiving that specific reinforcer. So again, we talked about the man as the only one that doesn't have that GCSR as our consequence of the behavior. The consequence is going to be that specific reinforcer. And remember, when we're looking at behavioral contingencies, we always want to focus on past consequences and how those maintain behavior. So even if you don't necessarily get the reinforcer on that particular trial or that particular man, then it doesn't mean that it's not reinforced or wasn't reinforced by that specific reinforcer, because we always want to look at the past consequences and how they control future behavior. All right, looks groovy. Cool, I'm glad that a reminder for negative reinforcement is also helpful. Let's go with our tact now. We're going to do our ABCs once again. Let's do that for tact. What we got? We've got Vando, nailed that really fast. Nice job. Yeah, Shantae, I like where you're going. Kiara looks great. Good, yeah, double Kayla's, both killing it. Cool. Yeah, great responses coming through. I'll give you guys a few more seconds here. Yeah, Seda, I like where you're going. Awesome. All right, let's check this one out. For our tact, our antecedent is going to be a non-verbal stimulus. Good. A lot of you guys got that. Our behavior is going to be some kind of label of that stimulus, and our consequence is going to be GCSRs, that generalized condition social reinforcement. Again, we kind of think about that as like approval. So if I say like, hey, like check out my phone. Like that's, and you'd be like, cool, that's a phone. But be like, hey, check out my purple phone. If purple's the best color, it'd be like, okay, yeah, Nick knows what's up. He knows purple. And I'm like, hey, check out my purple phone with like a cool little holder here. Like, oh yeah, that's really cool. Now you guys might actually care about it. We get like higher quality social reinforcement. So again, nonverbal stimulus, labeling that stimulus. Our consequence is that generalized conditioned social reinforcement. Awesome, looks good. Let's go to our intraverbal now. Let's see if you guys can label our ABCs of the intraverbal. Let's see what you got. Yeah, so Alina's asking a question. If you make a statement like it's so cold and someone responds like I was thinking to go buy a jacket today, is that an intraverbal? So we'll look at the intraverbal frame in just a second, but it really depends on like which response that you're focusing on. So if you're focusing on it's so cold, what was the antecedent to that? That's going to tell you the answer. And then if we're looking at the other response of like I was thinking to go buy a jacket today, again, we want to focus on what was the antecedent of that. And that's going to get us to our answer about what operant that is. All right, I'm loving these answers coming through. Kayla P, that looks great. Jules, you're right on it. Got Amy's on it. Good. Yeah, Kenyatta, I like that. Good. Yeah, Heather looks great. Awesome. You guys are nailing this one. Good job. Does an intraverbal always need to be vocal? Ooh, what do you guys think? Cool, cool, cool. Nice. Yeah, oh, getting tripped up between that verbal and vocal. I told you, it's kind of tricky. So remember, vocal with vocal cords, verbal is just any kind of communication. Good. So yeah, the answer for that is no. Intraverbal does not need to be vocal. Good. All right, let's talk about this one. Our intraverbal, our antecedent is going to be some kind of verbal stimulus. Our behavior is going to be a related verbal response, so it does not need to be vocal, just needs to be verbal. Yeah, somebody had a great example, like shaking your head, yes or no. That's technically a verbal response, absolutely. And then the consequence of this one is GCSR. Looks great. Nice. Yeah, great examples. Yeah, somebody's mentioning like you could text somebody back. That's not necessarily a vocal response either. Good. So it needs to be verbal, not vocal. Nice job there. Cool, cool, cool. So those are our very elementary verbal operants. Next up, we're going to talk about formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence real quick. So we talked a little bit about form in the beginning of this presentation. And remember, form of a behavior includes the type of utterance it is. So whether it's a vocal utterance or if it's a gesture or if it's a text. But it also includes the content. And this, I'm going to blow some minds here because like so many resources teach this incorrectly. I know like the Passive ABA exam manual has this wrong. A lot of materials teach us wrong. Honestly, a lot of like university programs teach us wrong too. So I'm gonna blow some minds here. For formal similarity, remember for most verbal behavior relations, we want to focus on that relation between our antecedent and our behavior. So what we need for formal similarity is that the response form is the same, but also the content of the response needs to exactly be the same. So not only does it like need to match like vocal, but these two responses need to have the exact same content. If it doesn't have the exact same content, then we do not have formal similarity. So for example, like if I say strawberry and then you say apple, those responses do not have formal similarity. They're both vocal, but they don't have formal similarity because the content is different. Now, if I say strawberry and you say strawberry, now we have formal similarity. So again, so many people mess this up. I'd say like more materials out there get this wrong than right. But you can fact check this in Cooper. This is what formal similarity means. And not only does it need to have the same response form, but it needs to be the exact same content. Because remember, the content of the response is also a part of form. So, for formal similarity, we need to have both of these things. The form is the same, so it's we have vocal, vocal, or written, written. But we also need to have the content be exactly the same. If it's not exactly the same, then those responses do not have formal similarity. Do we have any minds blown here? Did anybody learn this wrong in school? Honestly, I learned this wrong in school too. I was of the belief that like, hey, as long as it has the same sense mode, then we have formal similarity, but it's not true. I know I'm gonna like break a couple worlds here, but that's okay because it needs to be broken in the right way. And we're gonna go over formal similarity and point-to-point correspondence and how it relates to our other verbal operants in just a sec. So there'll be plenty of examples of that. So yeah, Shantae is asking like, would a Codex have formal similarity? Absolutely, because the response is the same, or like the response form is the same, and we have the exact same content in those responses as well. And yeah, the exam will test you like this. This is how Cooper teaches it. The responses need to be exactly the same for formal similarity. Cool. Yeah, so again, for formal similarity, we need to have both of these things be exactly the same. Now, point-to-point correspondence, last point here is that when we're looking at our category, the duplics all have formal similarity with each other. When we're looking at Codex, they also have point-to-point correspondence, but they don't have formal similarity. Okay, so when we're looking at point-to-point correspondence, again, this is a relationship between our antecedent and the behavior. And what this means is that the antecedent and behavior have a meaningful and exact relationship between the stimulus and the behavior. So for example, if I say strawberry and then you write down strawberry, so these would have different forms, but there is an exact relationship between the behavior and the stimulus. So my vocal word strawberry has a direct correlation with the letters that make up the word strawberry. So that's what we mean about like this exact and meaningful relationship. So point-to-point correspondence, it applies to both our duplics and our Codex. Yeah, our Codex, they're going to have different response forms. So it's really easy to kind of like understand formal similarity in like that old way where we're only looking at like the type of utterance, because it's not necessary to kind of get these questions right. But if we want to really understand formal similarity in the correct way, we need to know that the content is also the same. Point-to-point correspondence, the content is the same, but we have a different response form. So it's like taking a different shape. So we could have a vocal antecedent in a written response, for example. Cool. So yeah, our elementary verbal operants that we looked at earlier, none of these are like related to formal similarity or point-to-point correspondence at all. So like, don't even think about those in relation here. They're just not relevant. So these are really only relevant to our duplics and Codex. Next up, we're going to talk about our duplics, and we're going to get all of our contingencies down for our 3 different duplics. Remember, our duplics, an easy way to remember this is that we're just duplicating our antecedent. Duplics do have both point-to-point correspondence and formal similarity with each other. So the antecedent behaviors are going to be the same, and they're going to have that exact match, and they're going to be in the same response form. All right, so let's start with our echoic, probably the most familiar one on this list. Let's get our ABC contingency down. On this one, be very careful with your vocal versus verbal. Fair warning right now. So again, we're doing our echoics here. We have Penelope and Tess. I have the passive manual. Are there any other errors we should take note of? I don't have the manual myself, so I don't have a thorough review of all of the errors in there. I know there are several. Not to say that our content's perfect. I think it's pretty close to perfect, but I know that that we probably have some slip ups every once in a while too. So no shade in that. But I don't like how they teach discrimination either. There's definitely some errors there. Yeah, to be honest, I didn't learn about the formal similarity thing until I was a test prep instructor for a couple of years. So it took me a while to get a hang on, but it's good to know the right way to understand everything. Yeah, if you want the most direct way to learn all the important concepts that you need to know for the exam and kind of just like a general understanding of behavior analysis, the BCBA course is the way to go. There's not much better out there. I'm really proud of the product. So if you haven't checked it out, go check it out. Understandingbehavior.shop. There's also a free trial there. So yeah, go see if you like it. All right, some great answers coming through here. Loving to see all the people putting their ABC diagrams in for this one. I told you guys to be careful with your vocal versus verbal here, and it looks like most of you guys are nailing it. I like to see that. Very nice. All right, so our echoics, let's go here. Our antecedent is going to be a vocal antecedent. So this one, we do need vocal with your vocal cords. Our behavior is a copy of that vocal antecedent, so it's going to be an exact copy. It's still going to remain vocal as well. Our consequence, like most of our verbal operants, is our GCSR. All right, nice job on that one. Let's go into our memetics. Memetic, probably a less familiar term, but the information that you have right now is that it is a duplex, so it is something that we're duplicating our antecedent. It has both point-to-point correspondence and formal similarity. Let's see if you can nail down our memetic ABCs. What you got? What you got? Yeah, I think it's Jizza 516. Like I actually know one and I may actually know what I'm talking about once I'm a BCBA. Yeah, honestly, I think that's the most important thing to get out of your studying is if you can't talk fluently like a BCBA, then you need to find simpler ways to understand these concepts. And again, BSlayer is the way to do that. And yeah, and I think it's more important than just passing this exam is hey, you want to feel confident in what you're doing. You're a professional. You're these parents are putting their kids lives and future direction in your hands. So it's a really important job. It's a big responsibility, and we BCBAs need to be competent in these concepts. Now, you can also take that to too far of an extreme. Don't talk too technically. Parents don't want to hear it. So you need to know the content well enough to understand it technically and understand it in easier formats. So you'll notice that's why I like to test that for people, and why I like to offer examples of not only here's our really technical definition, but also here's our easy connection, our easy way to understand or communicate something. Both are super important. Yeah, Nika, you've got the right attitude. Hell yeah. All right, lots of good answers coming in for this one. We won't spend as much time here because definitely less common verbal operant, and you may not know it as well. So for our mimetics, our antecedent is going to be a motor verbal stimulus. So this is going to be a motor action that communicates something. So like, for example, like if I throw it like the peace sign up, then that would be a motor verbal stimulus where it's like, hey, this communicates like peace, or like see you later. But the behavior here, since we're dealing with duplics, is going to be an exact copy of that motor verbal stimulus. So I get the peace sign, you get the peace sign. Sweet, we've got a mimetic here. And our consequence is going to be GCSR. This is also like going to apply for like sign language. So if you like do a sign that communicates something and then that sign is copied, then that would also be a mimetic. So a lot of people just only had motor stimulus for their antecedent. So make sure that you also have this motor verbal antecedent. So it's got to be something that communicates something. So like, for example, like if I just like touch my nose, like that doesn't really communicate anything. So if I touch my nose and you touch your nose, that would just be like a simple imitation. And it really didn't communicate anything. But if I like raise my hand because I like want to ask a question, and then you raise your hand because you want to ask a question, then that would be a mimetic, because again, this is kind of communicating something. It's copying of motor verbal stimulus, not just imitation. So yeah, we have a question about like, is this just imitation? No, it needs to be imitation of a verbal response, and specifically a motor verbal response. Good. All right. Last one here. You may not have heard of it, but I think you can make sense of it. We've got a lot of details here. Is copying text, kind of so spells itself out. So when it's copying text, we know it's a duplicate. Let's see if you can label our ABCs here. How many of you can try? Let's see it. Yeah, more example for a mimetic. Like if I signed Apple and then you signed Apple, that would be a mimetic. Anything that kind of communicates something. If I like wave by, then you wave by, that would be a mimetic. Yeah, on the right track there. Love truly sucks. All right, nice. Lots of great answers coming through. Yeah, Stephanie, that looks great. Gunjan, on it. Hell yeah. MagDL, nailed it. Yeah, Kenyatta, I like the details you have there. Kayla, Cruel too. That looks great. Nice job, Vando. Good answers coming through. Is there a different word for copying text? No, it's just copying text. I feel like it's like the laziest one. It's just like, just copying text. Like, you always have like fancy words like echoic and mimetic, but no, we're just copying text here. Sometimes like the technical terms are just like too much. I'm like, do we really need to call this mimetic? Is it really like that complex? I'm like, we can just be very straightforward. We have a good question. Could this be related to tracing? Depends what you're tracing. Are you tracing a verbal stimulus or not? Should we know about convergent and divergent multiple control? Yes, those are fair game questions for the exam. We will not be talking about them in today's lecture, but they are in the B-Slayer course. So if you want to get your multiple control stuff, make sure you check out our B-Slayer course. For copying text, we have a written stimulus. This really should say written verbal. I got to make that edit. Written verbal stimulus as our antecedent. The behavior is copying written verbal stimulus, and our consequence is GCSR. Nice job. Yeah, pretty straightforward there. Again, we're copying text, and it's got to be verbal text. Alrighty, so that was our duplics. Remember our duplics, we are duplicating our antecedent. Let's talk about our codex next. We've got two of these. Instead of duplicating our antecedent, we'll be decoding our antecedent for these. So these ones do have point-to-point correspondence, but they don't have formal similarity. No formal similarity. All right, let's start with our textual behavior. Let's see if you can nail down the ABCs of textual. We have a question. How long does it take to do the Beast Slayer course, start to finish? It's about 16 hours of video, and there's like over 65 quizzes on there. So it kind of depends like how fast you can go through those. It's about 25 to 40 hours of work is usually the range I tell people. The videos are also like very dense with information. So to really master everything, you're going to have to watch things a few times. Usually we recommend taking like 4 to 8 weeks to nail down the course. But I've seen somebody do the whole course in 10 days and then they pass their exam. So it kind of depends like what you're working with and what your study schedule looks like. I recommend taking a little bit longer period of time so you can really let the information soak in. Yeah, I think like 4 to 8 weeks is pretty solid. I'm glad you're here, Heather. Yeah, we have a question from Nehatal. Hopefully I'm saying that right. They are asking, can we count like a man, vocal, and verbal together? Yeah. Sorry, I think I'm understanding. So yeah, you can have a behavior that's both vocal and verbal. So like all of my teaching tonight is vocal verbal behavior. And you can also have dual operants. So you can have a single behavior that has multiple operants. So it could be like both a tact and a man, for example. We'll talk about that with tricky stuff. If I'm saying like do this and then like give it an action to imitate, that would be it kind of depends. It would definitely be an intraverbal because it's more of like a command. Or you can think about that as listener responding if we're looking at the person who's copying. Or if I'm saying do this, it could even be a command. Like it's a command for you to do something. It depends on the frame that you're looking at and what you want to focus on. The course comes with 6 months access, and we do offer you can renew for a heavily discounted rate, so if you need to, but we haven't had any students that have needed to yet. They just passed their exams. So, we'll probably have some at some point, but if you need it, we do offer that. You can renew an additional 6 months for $150. Yay, Magdiel, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah, that second run through, like things are really gonna click nicely. Okay, I'm liking the answers here, looking really great, crew. For our textual behavior, here's our ABCs. We are gonna start with a written antecedent. We have a behavior is reading the text. And then our consequence is GCSR. So easy way to think about textual is it's kind of like reading. So like, for example, if I read this word antecedent, like the antecedent is the word antecedent. So it's actually the written text. The behavior is the vocal reading of the text, and then our consequence is GCSR. So if I was to say like antecedent, like people would, it's not going to get as much like GCSR. Like you kind of said that funky. But if I say it right, like antecedent, then it's going to get the correct approval as my consequence. Excellent. All right, our last one here, we're going to talk about transcription. Let's see if you can nail down our ABCs. You have a question here. Have I had any students that did the course for both BCABA and BCBA and passed both? Yes, we have. We've had definitely a handful of students who have done BCABA, then taken BCBA, and then passed. Absolutely. Awesome. I'm liking the answers coming through here. It's funny. I feel like the two Kaylas in chat tonight are like responding at the exact same time every time. Both killing it, by the way. Love it. Yeah, Sedana on the right track. Yeah, Amy killing it as usual. Nisha, Lisa. Okay, yeah, Kelly, I like where you're going. A little messy, but it works. Good, yeah, Love Truly Sucks, killing it. Just a Kayla thing, totally in sync. Love to hear that, Magdio. Yeah, Heather has a really great point too. A lot of these verbal operands are kind of just like what the base word is saying. So you can think about transcription, like the root word of that is transcribe. It's a really great tip is like sometimes you can just like convert these into like common English and then make sense of them. So if you know like what transcribing is, you can get our ABCs down pretty easily for this one. That's a great tip if you like see something you might be a little unfamiliar with. Yeah, so you had a question, verbal behavior must always be mediated by another individual. So again, we want to think about it as that it has a history of being mediated by another individual. So it's not necessarily doesn't necessarily need to be in the moment, but this generalized conditioned social reinforcement has occurred in the past for these behaviors. All right, let's look at this one. For our Codex, we have a vocal verbal stimulus as our antecedent. Our behavior is writing down the words of that vocal verbal stimulus. And then our consequence, once again, is GCSR. Nice job. Yeah, lots of great answers coming through on this one. Nailing it. So again, duplics, we're duplicating our antecedent. Codex, we're decoding our antecedent. So it's still the same content, but it's going to become in a different response form. No formal similarity. Good. All right, let's talk about listener responding real quick. So listener responding, not necessarily a verbal behavior, but it's kind of like verbal behavior adjacent. So listener responding is responding to the verbal communication of another individual in a specific way. So here's what we've got. Our antecedent is going to be a verbal instruction. So for example, our SD here would be like touch ball. The behavior is following that instruction, so touching the ball. And then the consequence would be generalized conditioned social reinforcement. So once again, getting like that praise, approval for that particular response. Again, this would not necessarily a verbal behavior, but it is verbal behavior adjacent since we have verbal instruction as our antecedent here and kind of fits that form. Awesome. Okay, well, we are onto our quiz portion of this presentation, but we've got 135 people here. We've got 93 likes on the video. Thanks for everybody who's hit that thumbs up button. If we can get to 100 likes right now, I mean like right now, I think we'll give away another Beast Slayer course tonight. Or like we'll give away like right now. So if you haven't hit that thumbs up button yet, it's high pressure time. Let's see. Can we go this way? Okay. Yeah, you guys are fast. So can we get to 110? Okay, we beat 100. That was too easy. Can we get to 110? Okay, we're at 106. That's pretty good. Can we get to 110 though? Everybody, yeah, Heather's doing her part. We're at 109. Oh man, who hasn't done it yet? Let's see if my thing will refresh. Okay, 112. Okay, awesome. You guys rule. Thanks everybody for being here. We're gonna give away a second B Slayer course on this next giveaway, and we're gonna spice it up a little bit too. So we're gonna give a B Slayer course to the person who is closest, and then our second closest person is going to get their choice of any of our other products. So only doesn't apply to tutoring, but you can get any of our mock exams, our fluency questions, or our mini mocks for this one. So we'll do it top two. Our first winner is going to win our B Slayer course. Second winner is going to win their choice of mock exam. We are doing one guess per person, and we will also... If that person already has the B Slayer course, we'll do second closest for that one. So you can participate if you need any of our products. We do want to give it to a new B Slayer, so we're gonna do it closest person who doesn't have the B Slayer course wins the course, and then the next closest person is gonna get their choice of any other product except tutoring. All right. I didn't even say our number range yet. Gosh, so many guesses already. All right, we'll do the same thing. We'll do 1 to 7. 1777 is what we did last time. Let's see those numbers, and yeah. If you already have the B Slayer, you can put a vote in. You can put a vote in so you have a chance at the mock product. But if you already have the B Slayer course and you are the winner, then we're gonna hand it off to the next closest, and if that person wins the closest but doesn't need the B Slayer course, then they're gonna go in the mock or whatever other product, and then the second closest will win the B Slayer. So we'll just kind of like throw it down the chain, if that makes sense. All right, wow, you guys nailed that like counter, hammered it. I love to see it. 123 likes. That's a new record. Oh, we've never gotten this many likes on a video before. Amazing. Thanks everybody for participating tonight. Thanks for being here to celebrate all the fun. If you missed it at the beginning of the stream, we are also doing a B Slayer scholarship. So stay tuned to all of our socials and our other stuff for that. Sign up to our email list. You can sign up to the email list on the shop right here, or you can do it right here. Either way works. All right, we'll give you a few more seconds for guesses here. Wow, there's a lot of guesses here. Let's see how we do. Okay. We're going to make Marie Diaz the last guess here. We're picking our number. Here we go. That was it. Yeah. 679. sorry. I had to go back to 679. Oh my gosh. I'm seeing Danielle Rosalie nailed it at 679. Damn. All right. So we're looking for second closest here as well for our mock exam winner with Danielle. Danielle, do you have the course yet? I'm seeing Cherry Blossom K at 682. That's pretty close too. 679. Anybody closer? I mean, Danielle nailed it. Do you have any ties? I don't think so. I'm seeing our two closest are Danielle, who nailed it, who is our B Slayer winner if she doesn't have it. And then Cherry Blossom K at 682 is pretty close too. Danielle, do you have the course yet? Damn, Danielle. Cherry Blossom at 682 as well. Oh, man. All right, I think Danielle Rosalie is our winner. Nailed the 777 guess right on the nose. I think we found our 2 winners. So, Danielle, congratulations. You just won yourself the Beast Slayer course, $325 product, absolutely for free. Congratulations. And then we had, I think it was Cherry Blossom, is also our winner here. You get your choice of any of our Beat the Beast mocks, our mini mocks, or our fluency package. Let us know which one you want. Send us an email at understandingbehaviorofficial@gmail.com, and we'll hook you up with that. Cherry Blossom, if you don't have it, I'd highly recommend the mini mocks. They rule. They're gonna drill you hard, but that's how you learn. Smooth sea never made a skilled sailor. So yeah, let us know which one you want, and we'll hook you up with that. And congrats to Danielle, our big winner for the Beast Slayer course. Excellent. Yeah, you can watch us anytime afterwards for sure. And yeah, sweet. That was hype. Thanks to everybody for being here and for all of the support. We're going to talk about how the exam is going to try to trick you on verbal behavior questions. We will then do a quiz where I'll try to trick you on verbal behavior questions. And then we'll wrap up for the evening. We'll wrap up for the evening and see how it goes. All right. So, ways that it's going to try to trick you. First of all, it's going to they're going to have multiple verbal responses or speakers in the question. So to counteract this, you want to really stay focused on what the question is asking about and focusing on that speaker behavior of the very particular behavior that is being asked about. We talked about earlier how the past history of consequences for the behavior is more important than what's happening in the current moment. So focus on like what may have maintained this behavior in the past and not necessarily what's happening right now. You might also have like some weird antecedents. So you might have like an intraverbal frame that has motor communication in it, for example. Or you might have like tacting abstract traits or feelings like, hey, like my spidey senses are tingling, for example, as like a tact. Next up, we can also have disguised operants. So this might be something that, this might be like a multiple operant, but has like the frame for 2 different operants. For example, we have like something that looks like a tact, but is really more of a concealed man. We would still have that as like our both, like our double operant there. So an example of this would be like, hey, let's say you're at like a party and you're like, hey, that pizza smells really good. And then somebody's like, hey, you want a slice? And I'm like, hell yeah, I want a slice. So that'd be like both a tact and a mand, but really to focus on like what antecedent was more important. Like if I was like really hungry and I was like, this behavior has like resulted in pizza in the past, then it'd be more of a mand. It would still also be a tact, but we never look at like what is the more relevant antecedent for that. So look for those dual operants, look for those disguised operants, and focus on like what is the highest relevant antecedent that we're relating to. Yeah, somebody was asking about pure versus impure operants. Essentially, like the pure operants are going to be like strictly the ABC contingencies that we talked about, where impure operants are going to have a little bit more of this blend. So there might be multiple operants or like a dual operant, kind of like this this like concealed man that we talked about. Cool. Well, let's go ahead and check out these questions and see how you guys do. Rationales are highly encouraged for each of these to get the most out of them. We have June grabs her dog's attention and says, come here. June's dog comes. What verbal operant did the dog display? Becca, you are getting the tail end of this, but you're here for quiz time. So let's see how you do. Again, rationales are highly encouraged to get the most out of this exercise. Let's see what you got. Your rationale should probably relate to those ABC contingencies that we talked about, because that's how these are defined. These are verbal operants and they're just contingencies. Yeah, Kiara's asking about, do we talk about emergent relations and generative performance? Yes, we do. That would be under the response generalization section, as well as the stimulus equivalence and RFT sections. All right, love to see this block of text here. I love the rationales coming through. Good job, Seda. Good job, Laura. Kayla P killing it. Yeah, Christian, like where you're going. Yeah, Vando killing it. All right. Looking great here. This one is going to be I, listener responding. Nice job. So we had a verbal behavior as our antecedent. The behavior was responding to that verbal behavior. And then we have our GCSR. Good. All right, next one. Remy had to run to the bathroom during an important lecture. He asked his neighbor to see their notes real quick to write down. Which verbal operant best describes the writing of the notes? Yeah, Vanellope, make sure you're focusing on that speaker. Awesome. Loving the rationales coming through. Looking great. Good job, Heather. Kayla K looks great. Yeah, good, Marichu. All right. Nice job here, crew. This one is going to be F, copying text. Very nice work. So what we have is we are focusing on the actual copying of the notes, so the writing of the notes. We have our written antecedent. We are copying that written antecedent, so copying text is our most logical answer. If we're looking at the asking his neighbor, this would be more of a man. So again, focusing on the particular operant is important. All right. Harold asks, want to play ball after school? Jimmy replies, I'm down, let's do it. Which verbal operant best describes Jimmy's behavior? Bonus, what kind of operant describes Harold's behavior? Let's see those answers. Let's see those rationales. Yeah, Stephanie on the right track here. Yeah, Laura, like where you're going. Yeah, Seda nailed it. Good job, Vando. Yeah, good job, Christy. It's looking great, crew. Nice job. Yeah, nice, Vando. Nailed both of those. Yeah, good job, Lisa. All right. Nice work here, crew. This one is going to be C, the intraverbal. So focusing on Jimmy's reply, we had a verbal antecedent. We had want to play ball after school. We had a related verbal behavior. And so that is going to be our intraverbal. If we're looking at Harold's behavior, he was asking a question. So this would be a man for information. Also going to be a man for Harold's response. All right, nice job. While stuck in Sandy's dome, SpongeBob croaks out, "Sandy, I need water." And Sandy replies, "A wallet, a watch," and does not provide him water. Which verbal operant best describes SpongeBob's behavior? What you think here? What do we got? Let's see those answers. Let's see those rationales. They said Nika. Yeah, so a lot of people are saying man here, but is it a man if he doesn't receive the reinforcer? Is it still a man if he doesn't get the reinforcer? I told you, I trying to trick you. What do you guys think? Is it a man if he doesn't get the reinforcer? Oh yeah, I was second guessing a couple of y'all. Ooh. All right, so sometimes I throw these questions to just like make you think about it a little bit more deeply. But in this case, I was looking for you to seal your answer. This one is still a man. We had some good answers here. I think Gunjan was the first one to really nail that. Or we want to focus on the history of reinforcement for this behavior. So this behavior is still evoked by an establishing operation. He's still like is in that water deprivation mode. So that evoked that man. And again, we don't need to focus on what is currently happening. We need to focus on the past history of this behavior. So in the past, this request has gotten him water. So it is still a man because past consequences determine future behavior. Does not matter what's occurring in the moment. This one is still a man because it's evoked by that establishing operation. So it's tricky there. Sometimes I ask those questions to kind of get you to think a little bit more thoroughly about it. But again, past consequences are the most important in controlling this behavior. It doesn't matter what's occurring in the exact moment. This one is still a man because we have that past history of receiving the reinforcer. Good. Alrighty, our next question. Gary is texting while driving when another driver honks at him and flips him off. Gary puts his phone down and then flips him off back. Which verbal operant best describes Gary flipping the driver off? I know, it goes both ways with like those extra tricky questions. Sometimes you need to seal your answer, be like, yep, I see it. Or sometimes you like, it's not uncommon for the whole crowd to be wrong. I've given questions before where 80% of y'all get it wrong. And sometimes it's the brave one in the pack that's like really leading the way. All right, loving the answers here, looking good. Yeah, and either way, whether you got it right or wrong, as long as you're really like putting some value into your answers, trying to explain them, the feedback is gonna teach you the right way. So I'm really happy to see so many people putting so much effort into their rationales because they're going to get the most learning out of this experience. And sometimes it takes a little bit of a failure to get things to click. And it's not something to be scared of. It's something you should embrace. So thanks for everybody who's really putting in the effort with their rationales tonight and learning hard, because that's what I love to see, is that people are actually here to learn behavior analysis, because it's so cool. It's just so cool. All right, nice job on this one. You guys are nailing it. This one is E, a mimetic. And I know a lot of you guys didn't even know what a mimetic is before this presentation, but you know I even identified one in a novel situation. So we had a motor verbal antecedent of getting flipped off. Then the behavior is a copy of that motor verbal antecedent. You flip them off back. We've got their GCSR. This one is a mimetic. Why is this not an intraverbal? It could potentially fit that intraverbal frame, but it's best described by mimetic because it fits that frame exactly. All right, next one up, we've got a behavior nerd. Here's an epic Skinner quote at the UB study hall, which is, what a strange discovery for a would-be tyrant that the only effective technique of control is unselfish. And then they write it down for later. Great quote. And obviously, Skinner's talking about reinforcement. Which verbal operant best describes writing down the quote? Good. Yeah, Kayla K, I like where you're going. Heather looks great. Yeah, Laura nailed it. Sedana nailed it. Good job, Becca. Looking great here, crew. Nice work. Loving it. A few more seconds here and we'll talk about it. Alrighty, here we go. This one is a transcription. So transcription, we have a vocal verbal antecedent. The behavior is writing it down. So written response, and it has point-to-point correspondence where what's being written down is the same as what they heard. And then GCSR is our reinforcer. Transcription. Nice work here, crew. Awesome. This is our last one. If you know me, I really like roller coasters. I have maybe 20 plus roller coaster dreams a year, and I had a roller coaster dream last night. Anyway, while riding a roller coaster, Carla says, "I don't feel so good," and then vomits on her friend sitting next to her. Getting off the ride, her friend says to Carla, "You need to figure this out, bitch." Carla finds them a shower and clean clothes, and they continue riding more coasters. Which verbal operant best describes Carla's response on the roller coaster? We have a question. Is vocal always verbal? No. I can just make a sound and it's not necessarily communicating anything. So I'm just like, ah! That didn't really communicate anything. I guess it could in some circumstances, but not that one. Answers looking pretty good so far. Loving to see the rationales. Good. Yeah, Nisa on the right track. Christine, Jennifer, good. Yeah, Jay Carter, Rashone, looking great. Okay. Looking super groovy here, crew. Nice job. Our answer for this one is going to be B, the tact. Really nice job. This one is a little bit more of like an abstract feeling. So the nonverbal stimulus is kind of just like the state that she's currently feeling. I don't feel so good. And then like it's confirmed where it's like, hey, we're not like praising her for like not feeling good, but we were praising her for like labeling it accurately, or not necessarily praising, but like approving or comprehending that. Again, thinking about that GCSR. And yeah, essentially she was just labeling that nonverbal stimulus of like what exactly she was feeling in the moment. So this one fits our tract frame very nicely. All right, we're going to skip our RFT talk today, but we're already way over. But thank you guys for such an epic stream tonight. You guys are the best. Once again, for the next 2 weeks, we're not going to have Thursday streams. Don't miss me too much. But we will still have our Monday, Wednesday events with Molly and Crystal. So make sure, if you aren't already, sign up to our email list on understandingbehavior.shop. And sign up to our email list, and you'll get all the updates about that. Once again, we are doing our B-Slayer scholarship. So if you've been struggling a little bit with finances and you're like, I need really good test prep, but I can't afford it, our scholarship is going to be opened, and we have submissions open until Monday. If you know somebody else that might be in that situation too, feel free to share that form with them. I just dropped it into chat. We'll send it in emails and post it on all our socials and stuff as well. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, I'm going to have a really good time. I'm just going to be flying in the skies for 8 days in Chile. I'm really excited. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for being super awesome. And yeah, the scholarships, you can win the complete beast mode bundle. All of the information is in that form, so check it out, fill it out, and yeah, we'll pick our winners early next week before my trip. And yeah, Heather, I'm glad you had a good time. Thanks for all your participation tonight. I'm really excited for the trip. Yeah, we're aiming the scholarship more towards people who really need that financial help to get through their exam. Again, if we get 10 people who get this, 10 people who buy the course before our submission date, we're going to actually give away 2 scholarships. So if you've been on the fence about the B-Slayer course, it's a great time to pick it up so we can give away that second scholarship for people winning the whole complete Beast Mode bundle. And yeah, check it out, and it's going to be sick. I'm going to have the best time. I can't wait. I'll definitely have some stuff posted. I'll hang out and have some videos posted from Chile. We might even do like an Instagram live from Chile. So just like be on Instagram and stuff, and try to catch that. We may or may not announce them. We'll just see how my schedule works. I have no idea. I'm gonna be on vacation, but I still want to hang out with you guys. But yeah, in the meantime, check out the scholarship if you are needing some help and want to get serious about passing this exam. And thanks so much for all of your participation tonight. It was a super lit stream. We broke records. We've never had this many likes or viewers at one time on a stream before. So thank you guys for helping to make that happen. And I will see you guys in a couple weeks, and I'll probably see you in Chile or on Instagram and stuff. So yeah, hang out there, and I'll see you there. Until then, bye.